Pursuant to Standing Order 38, the question that this House do now adjourn is deemed to have been made. However, the member for Kitchener Centre has given notice of dissatisfaction with an answer to a question put to the Solicitor General. So the member from Kitchener Centre will have up to 5 minutes to debate the matter, and the minister will have up to 5 minutes to reply. We turn now to the member from Kitchener Centre.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As the anti-racism critic for the official opposition, my job is to hold the government to account. I have written letters requesting a briefing. I've gone to the Legislative Library with research requests trying to find out what is happening with the anti-racism work in this province. I've put questions on the order paper. I've asked questions during question period, and here's what I found so far. As of today, the 3-year anti-racism strategy that community members took as a signal that the Ontario government was serious about doing anti-racism work remains archived. And only $1,000 has been allocated, whether it's a placeholder or not a placeholder, to anti-racism initiatives. So here's what the public needs to know. The public wants to know what the government's anti-racism plan is and whether or not the Anti-Racism Directorate is the sole place that this work is going to be done. They want to know how this government will know that their plan is effective, and that means they want to make sure that whatever the plan is, there's an accountability mechanism within so that we know that the job is being done. They also want to know whether or not the Anti-Racism Directorate is external-facing or internal-facing. So external-facing, the reason they want to know this is because there's only 5 minutes, so I'm only going to be able to look at 2 different aspects of racism today. Anti-Indigenous racism that's being perpetuated in our communities still continues. For instance, some Indigenous communities have no access to clean drinking water. They wait for months to have flood mitigation resources come to their neighbourhoods, or their homes are more susceptible to house fires than the average Ontario resident. Indigenous youth are taking their lives at epidemic levels, and the government hasn't considered it to be an epidemic, and the resources haven't been brought into the community. A new Indigenous curriculum has been announced, but we know that it's not been authentic consultation with Indigenous communities because they have said this to us, and the Minister of Education has actually said that the consultations will take place after the curriculum has been implemented. In the last 3 weeks alone, we've had huge rise in anti-Black racism. One woman woke up with the N-word painted on her garage door. 2 students have come forward with examples of their experiences of anti-Black racism, bullying, harassment, attacks in the public school, and at least 1 board has actually admitted in writing that they have not done enough work to address anti-Black racism in the school system. And just recently, a Black woman was racially profiled by the police after dropping her children off to daycare, something that, to be perfectly honest, could have happened to me. If the ARD is internal-facing, we still have questions. How can racist rhetoric be allowed, justified, and/or supported when it's spoken in this chamber? Why aren't the ARD staff advising the minister and the members of government that using words like, and I quote, illegal border crossers perpetuates racism? Is the staff telling them this? And is it that they're just choosing to ignore it? And if they're choosing to ignore it, then why are you saying that the ARD is doing a great job? As a Black woman who's also an expert in anti-racism initiatives, I am offended by the racist rhetoric in this chamber. And I know that the ARD will not be able to achieve its mandate if the only focus is internal. So here's what we know. $1,000 has been allocated in the budget to anti-racism initiatives. The government has said it's a placeholder. So here's more questions. When will more money be allocated? How much money will be allocated? The Anti-Racism Directorate was created because Black, Jewish, Indigenous, racialized, and white Ontarians said that they wanted an end to racism. They knew that you couldn't hug it out. They knew that you couldn't talk it out. They knew that there were community organizations that are experts in this area that are doing the work that have been underfunded for years. So the ARD was supposed to be a conduit to get funding to them. Unfortunately, As far as I can tell, $1,000 is all that's allocated for that work. So my last question in the last couple seconds, I would like to know if the community organizations that are experts in this area will be funded, and I would like to know if the government is prepared to do better, because the language that they use in this House is perpetuating racism. Looking forward to the debate.
Thank you. The Solicitor General now has up to 5 minutes to respond.
Thank you very much, Speaker. I'm pleased to have the opportunity to speak this evening. The NDP is using an inaccurate figure and fear-mongering to advance their political objectives, so I plan to address that. More importantly, I'll take the opportunity to highlight the work being done by the professional, dedicated public servants at the Anti-Racism Directorate in the face of baseless political attacks by the NDP. But I first want to speak about why it's so important to be informed on such an important issue. Fighting hatred in all its forms, including racism, is not a partisan issue. In fact, we've joined our colleagues on both sides of this House many times to vocally denounce discrimination, racial and otherwise, at every opportunity. While Canadians overwhelmingly reject hate, we know that racism and other forms of bigotry persist on the margins and are a serious threat that must be addressed. History and the experience of marginalized groups has taught us that hatred grows when it is allowed to fester, when it is normalized, when it is accepted. That's why it's important to know the facts and to understand that, as a government, we care deeply about this issue. So let's review the facts. According to the public estimates tabled in this House, the Anti-Racism Directorate budget is $4.9 million. $4.9 million. Nearly the same as last year when it was $5.1 million. One of the line items under the ARD uses the $1,000 figure. Now, if the NDP bothered to actually read the estimates, they would see that the $1,000 figure is used throughout the estimates, under virtually every category of expenses. They'd also read the following explanatory note to readers at the beginning of the estimates, and I quote, "In cases where the anticipated recovery of costs of an item is equal to or greater than the expenditures, the balance of the item is shown as the nominal value of $1,000. As we've explained before, the $1,000 nominal figure is a technical accounting placeholder. Again, the Anti-Racism Directorate, whose work, as the name implies, is entirely dedicated to fighting racism, remains at 4.9. I get that accounting isn't the NDP's strong suit. During their campaign, the Leader of the Opposition admitted to a $1.4 billion hole in the NDP's proposed spending plan. And we can look at the financial disaster created by Bob Rae's NDP government in the 1990s. The inability to manage public finances may explain why the people of Ontario haven't trusted an NDP government with their tax dollars in more than 20 years. Our government has been fortunate to have access to the advice and expertise of the incredible professionals at the ARD as we put forward the most ambitious agenda in Ontario's history.
No cross-border talk, please. No cross-aisle chatter, please. Thank you. Minister, there's cross-aisle chatter that's interrupting. I can't hear you.
I heard it, but I was doing my best to ignore it. I've worked directly with the ARD team and will continue to do so. The NDP undermines these professionals' contributions by falsely claiming the ARD has not been doing its job. Here are just some recent examples of ARD projects. Having developed regulations under the new police legislation, identifying and helping address racial barriers in the recruitment of corrections officers, developing a cutting-edge program to equip members of the Ontario Public Service with anti-racism skills to create a better work environment and customer service for every Ontario citizen. In conclusion, I want to speak about the responsibility we have as legislators to fight hate and build a better society that treats its members with the respect they are due as individuals, regardless of race, religion, sexual preference, or anything else. We can lead by example. We can celebrate the achievements of all of our people. We can call out unfair circumstances, discrimination, and hate. What we must not do is politicize this issue. We cannot spread misinformation. We cannot normalize racism and hate. Acceptance and respect for the dignity of every human being are fundamental Canadian values, ones that we cherish across Ontario. Our government will continue to fight racism and hatred through the ARD and through our words and our deeds. I invite all members of this House to join us in that battle.